never said anything when I said. So, anyhow, first item of business is the adoption of the agenda. Are there any additions to the agenda? Any additions?
I move to accept the agenda.
Motion to accept the agenda. All in favor? Motion is carried. Next item is scheduled delegations. Do we have scheduled delegations? No scheduled delegations tonight. Public delegations. Public delegations.
I'd like to say something.
Mr. Berger, could you please state your name?
Ross Berger, Prairie, Alberta.
Thank you.
I got an email from Councillor Brian Potasnik there asking to meet and resolve some of these issues. I was going to read that letter there, but I handed it out there so you guys can look at my concerns in that. But it's still the outstanding issues that are still not getting any answers. And I'm bringing it to you. So, like, maybe you could read this here. This is an email that I sent, and it's pretty self-explanatory.
Did all councillors already receive that email, Councillor Rose?
Not that one there. There was a handout there. This one here with the three concerns.
Yeah, we received that.
Okay, so that would answer Mr. Knasnick's question there. But as for sitting in an office with no record or anything like that, I'm not going to accept it. The integrity that I feel for this town hall is very, very, very low. So. Okay,
Mr. Berger, regarding your issues, I see that now we have a written explanation of what they are. And at the last meeting, we actually talked about this. I believe it was the last one or the one before. And we decided as a council that 2 or 3 of the councillors would meet with you and discuss your issues, rather than have it all out here and have all of us. We were assigning 2 or 3 of our councillors to meet with you and discuss the issue. And then they would, as a mediation, go to the CAO and ask for his responses to that. They would then make a decision as to what the whole council would be doing for your issues. So I think that that's more than fair at this point.
Yeah, well, at least it's going somewhere now and someone's going to look at it, okay? But I would still like the answers for those complaints there. What is your procedure? You looked right over at Mr. Long here on May 14th, and you said that we have procedures for looking after being harassed and that there.
Okay, I think again, let's let the mediation counselors, you can discuss it with them, they will take the notes, and then they will address your issues and your complaints and the whole part of it, because it is just getting too confusing for all of us to try to answer what it is you're looking for. I'm not sure if anyone else would like to add anything to this.
Yeah, it wasn't, my understanding of what came out of what we had discussed wasn't, it was the same but not quite the same, in that we were going to meet with Kelly, also present, discuss the issues, and then the hope was to come up with something, written, so that it would say, here's your issues, here they've been addressed, and this is the answers, and go from there. That was how we'd like to see it finalized, right? To say, here it is, this is the answer, and have them all ended so that they're not going on and on and on.
No, I can agree with that, but like I say, well, look at that email right there, the very first question there, okay? And it goes on, and it's still not answered.
So the resolution will come from this mediation. And I'm kind of I do have a question here, Councillor Panasic. I was under the understanding that as the councillors, you would talk separately with Mr. Berger and separately with Mr. Tamaclo in order not to feel that Mr. Berger is being intimidated by 4 people representing the town and himself.
Yeah, well, I mean, we could, if that's what you would like to do.
Well, I'm not sitting in an office there with this man and expect to be, you know,
Okay, I
yeah, all along
understand
that
what you're
lines,
saying.
you know?
So I think it's up to the committee that we have chosen to try and figure out how you're going to do it.
Yeah.
All right?
Yeah, okay, that's fine.
Alright.
It's like this one here. Here's a pay stub for the meeting on June 15th, I believe it was, okay? And when I handed in my piece of paper, I told them, I do not have this bank account, okay, you're gonna have to write me a check. Well, they still couldn't pass that information on, and
Okay.
I'm sure the Royal Bank,
Yep.
you know, has sent back the money, but nobody has informed me.
All right. Okay, thank you, Mr. Berger, for your presentation,
You're welcome.
and they will be in touch with you.
If you could respond with dates that you're available, if that would work, and then we can set up a date to meet.
Okay.
Are you evening or afternoon or what?
Evening, or better is evening.
Okay, evening dates, please. All right.
Oh, is this gonna cost taxpayers money?
He probably will, but we are willing to put this out for the taxpayers of the town to resolve this issue.
Considering how long it's been gone, that'd be very
Exactly.
nice. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you. We're moving on this as we said we would. Do we have any other public delegations? Yes,
I think
could
if we
you
could
come
have a few
forward,
minutes of your
please?
time.
Pardon?
Could Jim and I have a few minutes of your time?
You sure can.
No, I'll go next.
All right. Could you please state your name and business, or if you represent a business or yourself?
Ron Shunter, Hawksum Harbor, here in Acton.
Jim Perry, House from Harbor, High Prairie.
Welcome to our abode.
We won't take up too much of the time. We really just stopped in. We wanted to take advantage of this opportunity to simply state and share with you that we're disappointed, we're concerned with the taxes that we're paying here in High Prairie. And you know, we've talked many times about different types of economic development and bringing business to town, but often what's overlooked is the opportunities that exist within the community for businesses like ours, and Dennis and Joe both considering revitalizing their business and building something new. But you know, after working through it and going through it and being presented with our tax bill recently, boy, you know, if we had the opportunity for a do-over, we'd probably do something different. But
Different location.
to simply and quickly throw some numbers at you, we've transitioned from about 11,000 square foot retail facility to 24,000 square feet. Our tax burden has gone from about $27,000 annually to over $90,000. And so to put it in perspective, certainly for me, I base it on a calculation based on retail sales space. And in order to do business in High Prairie, I have to account for budget about $3.78 per square foot, and set that aside just to pay the taxes alone. In similar communities, Westlock, about $1.50, Flair was 81 cents, Slave Lake, about $1.52, you know, give or take a little bit. But strictly from a retail perspective, again, in order to do businesses in this community, I'm at about $3.83 per square foot, just for taxes alone.
We're comparing this to similar buildings to ours, like quite new buildings in that.
And we're looking at the retail
Yeah.
space available, the
And
square foot.
You're not old buildings either.
Not necessarily the value of the property at the time or the assessed value, but on an annual basis, what is it gonna cost us to do business, to carry on business in High Prairie? And we're considerably higher than similar communities around us, and that has us awful concern. And certainly for individuals like Dennis and Joe over there, also considering building new buildings in the community, boy, when they see numbers like this, I'm certain they're sitting there having some different thoughts. So if nothing else, we're simply hoping that at this point we can engage in some discussion coming up and perhaps work through some of this. I know we've submitted an appeal recently with the assistance of Home Hardware. We're working through trying to reevaluate or reassess the property values. But there's a big difference, and that's what has us awful concerned. In order to do business in High Prairie, it's we have to set aside $3.83 per square foot to cover the taxes. And again, in other communities, $1.57, Westlock, $1.71.
Where's Fairview?
Fairview, $1.57.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's a very comparable community to ours.
Sure.
Before we built, we actually asked what our taxes would be, and nobody actually ever got back to us.
Yeah, at the time it was upside down.
Yeah,
It was
like there's-
within the council.
So we sort of took on our own, we figured $46,000, you know, by looking at other locations. Last year when we got our taxes, I thought it was 50, but I guess it was 57. We figured, geez, that's all, we can swallow that.
Yeah, that's what
So,
we budgeted for this year.
You know, so we didn't say nothing, and this year we got our taxes $90,000. I phoned Dennis and asked him, why would you wanna build in High Prairie? You know, it's impossible to be competitive,
Yeah.
so.
You know, perhaps you'd consider, you'd think differently perhaps, if in order to build the store, we had to do some road improvements and, you know, move some services into that side of town, but we did all that ourselves, we paid for all of it. You know, Pop's paid for the underground work and our septic, all our services, all of that we paid for.
We had to phone to get our grass cut.
So if you look at it from you know, strictly from a business perspective, the return on, you know, for those $92,000, what's in it for us in a sense? What's return? And yeah, to Jim's point, if you have to argue to get the grass cut,
Yeah,
it's discouraging, right?
There are no services.
There are no services.
Yeah, like we put our own sewer in at a higher cost, and like we were
Garbage
told,
because it's commercial.
no, we were told that we could put the sewer in right to the high pressure line, but somebody, I won't say names, somebody said for a town, no, we don't wanna do it. But we had all approvals from all the people that do it in other areas, they said no problem, so we went ahead and paid the extra money to go to the lift station. So that cost us an extra, probably $35,000. You know, seems like all we're doing is paying.
You know, to throw a number at you, you know, $50,000, I'd pay that. But beyond that, struggling with it. And, you know, perhaps over the next few weeks, there's an opportunity to meet with council. And I know Kelly, we've had some discussions. But, you know, maybe we've lost that opportunity for the year, but it's something that certainly at this point we'd like to discuss further.
I'm not sure if you have lost that opportunity.
Yeah.
You said you put an appeal in,
We have, yeah.
so the opportunity
We're
still
hoping it
open
would
there.
go a different way, cause Home Hardware has an appeal committee,
Yes,
and they, if we pay 92,000 and they get it down to 50, they get half of it for first year, so we're hoping that wouldn't happen.
We just didn't put the
oh,
money in our.
You know,
we're trying to get this.
We're trying to do it ourselves, but I think
Exactly.
we may have lost that opportunity, which is frustrating again on our part.
Well, the fact that we had to take it to that extreme, right? Where
Yeah.
we had to, request the assistance of Home Hardware, you know, corporate out of St. Jacobs. They in turn got, an outside agency, Turner and Drake, involved to file the appeal. All
I see.
along, we're kinda hoping that within our own community, we can resolve those
Yeah.
issues, internally with the aid of all those outside, agencies. You know, that opportunity perhaps we lost.
So the discussions that you had once you received your tax bill in June, there were discussions with the town administration?
We had so much to go, the girls get it upstairs, they pay it, and all of a sudden they come to us a little while after, hey, did you realize this? We're just shocked,
We're just working through all of that.
you
So
know.
was there ever an appeal put in with the town?
Just in time,
Yes.
Turner and Drake, who we employed
But
with
through
the
your-
assistance of Home Hardware.
Through Home Hardware.
Hardware, so
yeah.
you guys never tried to deal with this on your own
It was
prior to?
getting to the borderline that they
Yeah.
had to get involved,
You know, not knowing the deadlines at the time.
yeah, it's our fault there.
You know, when
No,
we
no, I'm
first
just trying
met
to
with,
clear,
yeah.
I'm just trying to understand
Yeah.
the process.
when we first met with Kelly there, we were just
Yeah,
from the deadline for filing their appeal. And-
So yeah, it will probably go with your process, your appeal.
Yeah.
unfortunately, you know,
Unfortunately.
Yeah.
unless you can agree with them and then give the rest back to us.
But if nothing else, there's an opportunity to, you know, going forward,
Okay.
you know, if it's not resolved this year, we'll have the same discussions again all over next year. But, it's just, the numbers seem to be so big, right, in
Yes.
comparison to other communities surrounding us.
Like,
Yep.
we
The
thought
numbers
when
are
we got
low.
last year's taxes, you know, we're out more than we expected. So we sort of, you know, yes, the town's trying to grow, so, you know, pay it, be done with it. But when you get this much higher again, and from what I understand, they said their building is 40% done. And at that time, all we had left was paving.
Yeah, there were some errors on the,
Yeah.
Property assessment last year that.
Yeah,
was
which we
filed.
didn't notice at 40%, you know,
Yeah.
they saying it's 40% complete, which it doesn't say that on your tax bill, right?
No.
So, we
So
figured,
when you looked at the tax bill, you actually thought, oh, this is it.
Yeah.
this is it from here on in,
From
you
here
know?
on in, yeah. Which reflected in our
Budgeting.
budget for this year.
Yeah. And your costing and everything else.
Yeah.
You're thinking, okay,
Yeah.
and probably
So
at.
the 92,000, that was quite a surprise.
You know, 50, we were expecting 45 to 50.
Cause you're building double, so you would be thinking your tax bill would only be double.
Well, talking to other communities, you know, what they're paying and, you know, you sort of, you know, you say you guys are competitive. You know, we have to be competitive in our business.
Well, it's a good point. I know as a town, we do want to be competitive out there, and we need to sort of find out where we're missing the boat. But I know it's, you know, been talking with Kelly about our mill rate, and that seems to be fairly competitive. Like we're not at the bottom and we're not at the very top, we're more in the middle. And I think the issue is more around the assessment part of that thing, because, and we've been finding out also that there's a lot of different ways to assess a commercial property, and I think, you know, looking at that and working with our assessors, and you know, you've got your home hardware rep going, so he probably knows all of those rules fairly well and can work with the assessor that the town uses to come up with something that would be, you know, fairly reasonable, I would hope.
You know, if we would've built this store the year before, which home was supposed to do, it would've been $1.2 million less, or $1.5 million.
The cost of construction would have been lower. You know, the concern for us as well, I mean, you know, we've purchased the property next door, the school.
So we're
And,
worried again.
You know, that's gonna add to our tax burden as well, right? And if we move forward with our operating plan on that location to build the door plans and make some improvements on that site.
You know,
We're adding to the $92,000 again.
And you're adding value to the community, and yet you're being penalized heavily for doing
You
it.
kind of feel that way, that's
Yeah.
right. And again, it could be different if we were pushing in services and developing a new subdivision but it's not, nothing has changed other than what we've paid for, and the enhancements that we've made ourselves.
Okay,
You know, on top of that, the truss shop, the manufacturing facility, none of that has changed. You know, it's
Yeah.
just the building itself, the retail space itself.
you know, we could've went out of town, we have land along the highway and be money ahead, which is tempting.
very tempting.
Yeah, the mill rate with the MD, we're like, what was it?
Almost at par.
Almost at par, like 0.5% different, you know, like, so it's not a big spread in there. And again, I don't know who they're using to assess the values, but the mill rate for both the MD and the town commercials are almost identical.
I did a phone call just before I came of a gas plant. Like, in comparison to value, we're better to move out to the town, to the MD. He didn't have exact numbers,
Yeah, well,
But-
that's
but
why
it
I
was-
was just wondering, it
it
seems
was-
to be an assessment issue.
like Plains Marking, like that's worth a lot of money, that facility. And it's not a bad tax rate.
Well, the point also, I mean, you've got two other guys sitting in the room here that wanna
Be next.
revitalize their business and
Absolutely.
We're
build
asking-
something in High Prairie.
We're asking why we could do it.
anyhow, enough said. If we, again,
Councillor
if nothing else, we have an opportunity to talk about it further.
Can I have 2 more minutes of your time?
Sure.
Okay, thank you. Well, hopefully, if they do go proceed with theirs, then hopefully the mill rates decrease because there's more of a tax base. And don't get me wrong, I really think
Okay, I'll
mill
try
rates
and get on
are
that one.
very high. During budget deliberations, I think I said no more often than anybody else in the room, and argued more often. So I would like to see our mill rates dropped. I really would. But then I'm gonna ask some other questions that you may not appreciate as much. So when we're talking property values, you talked about actually square footage, and you went from 11,000 to 24,000. I know how your bottom line works, but so I'm guessing, and that's what was being alluded to over here, was the property value that increased that hit you the hardest, and especially when you said you're 40%. The other questions I had was I was wondering what comparable sales would be like in Fox Creek or Fairview, but actually I'm thinking that's actually a moot point.
That's right.
It's not a value to
You can't
us.
base it on sales.
The issue is the mill rate and the cost of doing business in town.
And,
If
and
you
the
get enough
building.
business, it covers it, right? But at the same time, I'd rather still see our mill rate go down in our town.
Like Slade Lake, it's a Dodge dealership we compare to, quite new.
The brand new one, yeah.
Brand new, pavement everywhere,
Mhm.
beautiful showroom,
Stefan, yeah.
at way less.
Yeah, and I really don't care how we resolve it, either you change the assessment or you change the mill rate. The point I simply wanna make is, I'll cut you a check for $50,000, I'm comfortable with that. Beyond that, you're gonna have to fight for it, because the numbers are just too high. It's too costly to do business in High Prairie. Simply put.
And I thank you for
In my-
coming forward and telling us.
Yeah, like, we don't get support, like, we get support from town of High Prairie, but not to the degree. We get just as much out of the Juice Art community. We actually get more out of Juice Art.
If you look at our percentage of business, that's a good point. We do less than 4% sales from High Prairie,
In the community.
in the community of High Prairie.
Inside the town, yeah.
You know, this week we were shipping house packages to Manning. I mean, we've expanded our reach. We've had to chase it hard in order to, you know, to cover the added expenses and the operating costs that have resulted from modernizing the facility. You know, to throw a sales number at you, to put it in perspective perhaps, is we were comfortable at $6-7 million in sales in the old location. We've gotta be doing 15-16 in order to ensure the same profitability, right? And profit's important. There's no point, you know, going to work every day if you're not generating a profit, and we all understand. But to maintain the same ratios, the same numbers, we've gotta achieve that $15-16 million in sales annually. We're not getting that from the community of High Prairie. We're out all over the place. Our trucks today were in Wabasca, Loon River, shipping up into Manning. Our truss facilities manufacturing trusses for all over northern Alberta.
So we need
less
to-
than 4% sales come from the community.
The limits of High Prairie, town limits. So we may as well built in MD.
We haven't built a new house in High Prairie in how many years?
Please don't say.
You know?
No, but,
No, I understand. No, I do. I know where the development is. I deal
you
with
know,
it regularly.
not the town itself, the town shop, how much are you buying out of town?
Oh,
Have you guys ever checked that?
I think that's something.
We are told, are you competitive? Ask yourself.
Yep. And it's certainly something during the budget deliberations that will have to come up as to how much are we supporting our town and expecting.
You should be able to get everything in town
Yeah.
that you can buy.
It doesn't have to come outside the community, yet it does.
You know, competitive, what's competitive in your guys' eyes?
Drop our taxes, I can sell you paper towel at the same price you're getting it from out of town. And that's the way it works.
Yeah,
Anyhow, I appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
appreciate that. Oh, just a minute, Councillor Rose has one question?
Yeah, just one question about your assessment. Do you guys, what is your assessed value?
Right now, we're about 3.2. What I heard just today is that with the assistance of Turner and Drake out of Ontario, talking to Warren, And I think you shared the numbers, we were very close the other day,
I can give you the
about
numbers.
3.2 million or so.
I can give
That's
you the
your
numbers.
assessed
And
value.
that brings our taxes down to about $73,000.
But what is it assessed before?
4.8.
What do you guys feel the market value, like what, because you're comparing it to stores in other areas. So assessed value and market value are very close now, like that's what we're working with, right? So do you feel that it's assessed and marketed like that's too high of a value for your store? I mean, I know there's not a lot of comparables here,
How
but
about
you're
you-
gonna compare it to other areas, right?
How about you work it backwards, take $50,000, which we're comfortable paying, and then do the numbers and determine our value based on
I'm
that.
saying if you were to sell your store, what would the value of the building be? Cause that's
Yeah,
what all
that's a
the
good
town's
point.
assessing, so I'm just
Okay.
curious, that's all.
That's a good point. We had to bid on that piece of property next door to us. What's it worth? Home Hardware had somebody come in and appraise it. I think they came in at 400 some thousand. The school division will not sell that piece of land unless they got X number of dollars. Because they had to take the money to put in the other shop.
Into their project.
So you drive by our store, we have no room to park. So if it sells to somebody else, we'll probably never have a chance to buy it again. So what's it worth? We put a bid on it of 900 some thousand. Monahan's put a bid on it of 300 some thousand. Monahan's are probably right. So how do you put values on these buildings?
Yeah, no, it's the only thing you can really do is compare to
we
other
need-
markets, right? The Fairview
Yeah.
store, the Westlock store that you speak of, like what are the assessed values, or what's the market value, which is linked to your assessed value?
We're just going on the same, square footage, new building.
I honestly don't think they're too far off. But there's something different in those communities that results in them with a similar facility paying less taxes.
They might just have a lower mill rate, which is basically.
Or valued less in
Yeah.
assessment.
Well, the
Or it's
assessments are
been
the same.
assessed different.
Assessed different.
Yeah.
Okay, I was just curious what the
Like-
actual assessed value was, and if you
So they
question
found
the
a
assessed
mistake
value
already
versus
down.
the market value.
How many people are overpaying in High Prairie now if they found a 20,000? Should the newspaper write this? How many people are overpaying already in their taxes if they found this mistake? And nobody's ever questioned it.
Actually, there's quite a few people that have questioned it and,
Yeah.
received, that doesn't have to go to the appeal, they just question it, and the assessor says
Maybe you should
yes.
look at a new assessor.
Mr. Tobacco?
So I've had a chance to talk to Ron and Jim. I think I've met you about 4 or 5 times in a very short period of time.
Yeah.
And we've talked very well. The assessed value was at 4.8 without your blueprint.
Yeah.
Because now when the blueprint came in, the assessment is at 4 million. Your agent was looking at 3.65.
Yeah.
And with Warren, they were able to agree on somewhere around 4 million. So from $90,000, you're now at about $73,000.
Yeah.
Now, in terms of the methodology, assessment is a provincial legislated process. It is always audited by municipal affairs, so that there is always fairness and equitable ways of making sure that people are being assessed correctly. And so, in terms of the process itself, there's not been a question as to whether somebody is deliberately trying to shortchange anybody else. This year, we've had only 4 complaints. We have had 2 residential complaints, and we've had 2 commercial complaints. The one I've worked diligently with yourself and Warren, and I've visited Dennis Prairie a couple of times and tried to hook him up with Warren to ensure that before he does any building, that he can assess his building in terms of expansion more accurately so that we don't run into that problem.
Yeah.
More than anything else, when I've had about close to maybe about 50 counts that are printed out in terms of mill rate. I just went back, for example, town of Valley View, we're at about 14.9. Town of Valley View is about 15.5. Town of Swan Hills is 19. Town of Smoky Lake is 16. And you can go on and on. Westlock, even town of Slave Lake, you were right, was 10, right? And then town of McLennan is 30. So town of Manning is 12, and town of Athabasca is 16, and last one, but not the least, town of Beaverlord is 14, and I have so many of them here. The town of High Prairie is just in the middle. It's neither too high nor too low. Can we do things that will improve the mill rate? Obviously. Our strategy has always been hold the town revenue as is, let the base increase, divide that into the numerator, and you lower your mill rate in a very consistent way. So that's all I have to say. But in terms of business relations, I've had the opportunity of meeting you a couple of times, willing to talk to you more and more, talk to Dennis. I know Joe very, very well. We work very, very well to get Joe started. And so we are open for business. And that's all I have to say.
But the assessed value, like, that's like an appraisal, right? So when Home Hardware was looking at the property last year from School Division, the School Division had 2 appraisals. One was $759, or
Yeah.
right around 800,000. The other one was 1.4 million.
4 million.
So that's what I mean. The assessor, you know, look at the difference there of appraisals.
And
So
I
I'm
think
saying the assessor could.
there's a few things also. When you say the town of McLennan has a 30% commercial rate, and it does, do you see any activity there? None. The town is killing itself because the rate is so high. And that is one of the things that I'm concerned with, is that if you keep the same, if you have these high assessments, you will not have any more expansion.
It's hard for us to promote High Prairie, the town limits.
Okay, is there any other questions?
I have a paper here. It's how to go to do that. It's called How is My Property Assessed? And I have several copies so that if anybody feels that they've not been assessed properly, they can pick up copies anytime so that they can know how the process works. I picked it about 10 copies.
Would Mr. Berger like one? Sure.
Thanks, Phil.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank
I
you.
appreciate you coming. And I believe Mr. Carey, would you like to come forward and state your name and your business?
Dennis Barrett, Martin Airline. Same discussion as you just had, but you guys have got me in a quandary. I'm trying to get a building permit from you at the same time that I'm trying to back down it from building. So I've got a little bit of a problem there because the taxes relative to what Home Hardware is, I'm in bad shape. And I have to blame myself for it because I didn't do enough research as to what the probability of the tax rate in High Prairie. There's nobody to blame except myself, and now I've got 6 partners that are on my case saying, what are you doing? How are we gonna make this work? I have a little bit more problem than Home Hardware has, because our market is more provincial-wide than theirs, so I've gotta be competitive. And that's a major issue. If I can't compete, our business like runs throughout the province. Right now, if I build and I get a tax rate like Home Hardware, I'll have the 2nd highest tax rate of the 8 locations that we have. We have them from Kelowna, Calgary, Westlaw, Edmonton, Saskatoon, Barhead. We'll be higher than Westlaw for a building that's about half the size, and generate about a third of the business that Westlaw generates. So I've got a major problem. I've spent a lot of money already, about $300,000. If I back out, it's gonna cost me another $200,000. So you guys got me over a barrel right now. And I've gotta decide within the next 10 days whether to go ahead or not. And I really don't know what to do.
How many people do you employ now? Approximately.
About 20.
And when your expansion comes, are you expecting more?
Yeah, we'd have.
So there would be an influx of staff in there.
But, you know, not a great number
No.
more, but somewhat more.
But more
We
people
can just
in
do a
town
better job, like,
visiting your dealership? More people,
that's what we aim for, yeah.
yeah.
Have you got an assessment from the assessor, like, do you
No,
know what you're
no,
gonna be dealing with?
I
You're
haven't,
just
because
anticipating?
time's run out on me. He phoned me today, and, it's a kind of a game you play, like assessment, like Kelly says, is a provincial mandated thing, but it's all in the eyes of the beholder. It's pretty simple, like you see it all over. We look at all our buildings, we look at the assessments in these buildings that we currently have, and it's all over the map. It's in the eyes of the beholder, because that assessor can determine whether you're gonna have a high tax rate or a low. Pretty simple. Because it's a provincial mandated thing, you've gotta go through a certain process. One of the things they ask is how much money you make. What kind of number do you think he's getting?
Yeah. And I think actually the council tried to grapple with this when they looked at development incentives. But we didn't go any further with development incentives because there wasn't really, at that point, any development. But I think it's going to have to be something that they.
I don't want a development incentive, I want a lower tax rate.
Lower tax rate. But
You know,
maybe that
a
would
development
lead into-
incentive, that's a short-term thing. In 5 years, suddenly you're faced with the same
Same
thing that you had before. And here I'm asking you, I'm raising hell with you, at the same time I'm asking you to get me a building permit real fast because I have to make a decision. And I've got 6 partners that are saying, hey, what's with this situation that we're in? Can we make it work then? Well, I don't know if we can make it work anymore, and I'm the guy that screwed up because I didn't do enough research to start. Not you guys didn't screw up, I did. And I don't know how you're gonna lower taxes, the thing that, if you were a business, you'd be broke right now. Because you can only grab so much out of a business, you can only make so much margin, you can only make so much profit. And if your expenses get too high, you're broke. Now, in a governmental agency, all they have to do is raise taxes. Pretty simple. You should have our controller, and every time we spend a nickel, she's on our case.
Councillor Rose?
Dennis, if you had had more time to sort of do your research, what would you have done? Are you saying that you would have preferred to build in the MD, or you just wouldn't have expanded?
I wouldn't have, we'd have held back. Like, the thing that also happened to us at the same time is that we've been looking at this thing for 3 years now, building. If I'd have built 18 months ago, it would have been $1.2 million less. Now, we talk about what the value of that property is, and it would have no more value 18 months ago than it has right now at $1.2 million more.
No, I agree. It shouldn't change the assessment just because construction costs are up.
Yeah.
So basically, you're saying construction costs are up. We saw that with our
We
sewer
can't,
lift, right?
you
It
know,
doesn't
like,
make
yeah.
it doesn't make the sewer lift station worth more money.
Yeah.
It just means that our construction costs. But I mean, the process, because basically we've determined here that the mill rate for the MD and the town are very similar. So whether you build in the town or the MD, the taxes should be the same. The assessment process should be.
That's what you.
That's right, and so I'd like to get to the bottom of why that's different, because if our mill rates are the same, then why is the process different to assess?
Because it's in the eyes of the beholder. Like, every assessor looks at things differently, and
No,
you
and
can go around and, you can go around and start counting or start missing and like,
we would like.
we've been through this, we
would like very much for our assessor to be on the same sort of page as the MD's assessor, so that may be something that we have to look at.
everybody looks at things differently.
Well, commercial property is really tough, and we know that, right? Because we don't have a lot to compare to. Residential home, we can compare 3-bedroom, 1,000 square feet to 3-bedroom, 1,000 square feet to 3-bedroom, 1,000 square feet, right? And you're going to come up with a pretty accurate value. We don't have very many comparables for either case, and that's probably part of the reason why there may be some difference in the way that the properties are assessed. I'd like to actually sort of determine how the MD assessor assesses that he comes up with a lower value, because maybe there is something that we can do if we can find sort of a different process for assessment. I know the one comparable you guys brought up, which was it Predator?
No.
Plains
marketing.
So you're talking like the plant that
Industrial.
No,
You
that's-
can exact numbers, but
it's not a building really much, eh? Like it's
but there's assets there, the building, all the facility.
right, but I'm saying
But-
you're not comparing building to
But
building. Okay.
facility value,
Facility value, yeah.
what that facility's worth compared to what our store's worth.
Right.
regardless of the business.
I don't know what you guys are gonna do unless you cut costs.
Well, it sounds like we need to take a look at the assessment, you know, like if you truly can build, and there's the same mill rate in the MD, and you can truly build and be taxed
I
less
don't wanna
than
build in the MD
No,
if
no,
I
I'm
can
not
help
saying
it.
that, but you know, like that sort of was the other sort of story.
Yeah.
That shouldn't be, if the mill rates are the same, I don't see why our assessment should be different. So we need to get to the bottom of that. If it truly would be that they would get a cheaper assessment, and a lower assessment and therefore a lower tax rate in the MD, then maybe there is a fault in the process that we need to
So,
sort of take a look at.
the thing that you might screw up there, man, is I got a piece of property in the MD there that I got, you'd start questioning their assessment.
But in saying that, you know that the MD keeps their mill rate high for industrial in order to keep their residential low, their farmers low.
But it shouldn't be that they could, like, they're basically saying that they could build, not that Dennis wants to do that, I understand that, but they could build in the MD and pay less taxes, and I don't understand that. I don't understand why that's happening, if the
No,
mill
I
rates
think-
are the same.
Actually, I heard them say that, the taxes are just too high, period. When you compare it to other communities that have a ten
Certainly heard some
10 mill rate, a 10
some mention
mill
that they
rate
wish they built in the
Slave
MD,
Lake.
right?
How can Slave Lake have a mill rate of 10 for commercial?
It's actually 13.2 or something.
There's differences with,
$330 million in provincial money from the fire.
I mean, there's
Well,
lots of
not
reasons.
even that.
Yeah,
There's lots
but
of
I mean,
reasons
at the
that
same time, that's our competition,
Yes. No, and that's.
you know,
what-
and
But if there's a way to change the process, there's a way to find out if the process can be altered, and I agree with you, commercial property is really subjective, it's really hard to pinpoint, and it can be, like the appraisal, example, two different appraisals, two different appraisers, very different values. You know, is the assessment process something that we can look at?
Yeah, and my understanding is the assessment isn't like a home, a residential home where it's, you know, the value of the land and the home and they get a value. They can use up to 3 or 4 different methods of assessing a business or a commercial property, and it's, you know, it could be the profits on it, it could be the values on there, and like if they use the profits that are being made, well, that might impact it a little bit, but if they're making no money, they can't tax, you know, 0 profit, so then they go to some of the other methods. So there are different methods being used, and maybe our assessor is looking at it in a way that's different, and it's inflating the assessment values, and we have to find out what's causing this increased assessment, because our mill rate is all right, like it's where it should be. It's trying to find out why the assessment is so much higher and going from there.
maybe when I have a loss, you guys will refund me some tax money.
Yeah. Exactly, yeah.
Any other questions, comments?
The question I have is where's my building permit at now? What's the stage of it at? I got this stuff coming at me.
Actually, I think
It's on the agenda.
Agenda.
Okay.
agenda tonight.
We have all your pretty pictures.
Yeah. Is that something that, well,
Are you going to be staying to discuss this?
I could if I had to, but I'm not sure how this works.
I think it is,
it's later on in the agenda, but maybe we could move it up after and just deal with that, because I think it's, from my perspective, I didn't have many questions, but I don't know if anybody else had questions about
I
it.
have one, just one question. Anybody else have one question? Maybe you can just answer my question now.
Okay.
The riverbank, the creek bank,
Yeah.
when I drive by there, I see that there's been development very close to the edge. How
Yeah.
far back is your setback on that?
Couldn't tell you offhand. We got trees along there too.
Yeah, it'll be probably part of the development permit to make sure that that's set.
We're gonna, like, the thing that's happening, if it happens now is, our current building will be used as a storage building, and all the other buildings that we've got in there will be out of there, like our storage facility, all those little storage buildings and that, and we hope to be able to clean it up a lot, like, it's kind of an eyesore right now, the whole lot is bad, but, it's part of the thing that we're fighting with at the moment is a new building would help us in that way. And that, like, we don't like, I got hell about being close to that, environment here. And,
Okay,
so
so
we're,
you're aware of it.
we're aware of it,
All right,
yeah.
that's good then.
Yeah, no, we're aware of it. Like I got my fingers.
Because I know on the home hardware side, they've left sufficient vegetation there so that the natural riparian is not
Yeah, but like,
eroding away.
we put trees in there too, like, the thing that you found there, creeks cause a real problem for businesses that build along creeks, is that the creek bank is probably, if you haven't touched it, it's probably 5 feet higher than 100 yards over, because of the way the floods work and over time. But, so we're, you know, at the same time, you need proper drainage and you need, sort of thing there, so. The other thing that I'm wondering about too is, like the sewer situation, like Home Hardware, you know, I talked to Vern and that sort of thing there, and, like we're gonna have to install our own sewer system, which is, I've allowed for that, I expected that. That would be a pump into one of your manholes there at Northwest Machine, I believe, is where they want us to go to now, at the corner there, because they're putting in a big manhole there.
Okay,
And
that's
we'd
awesome.
run our high pressure line there, like Home Hardware runs it a lot further than that now, but I guess they want Home Hardware to run there too. And the question I've always had, and at one time, I talked to Steve Walensky about it, and he said we could hook on, that's what he said, we could hook on a high pressure line right there where the seed plant building was, because there was systems that could do it, but it appears now that they don't want us to do that, they want us to go to a manhole, and I'm kind of questioning why do they want us to go to a manhole, because the cost is far greater, because we have to bore underground.
Okay. It's certainly something the administration will have to look into.
Yeah,
And
I mean, if I have to, I kind of figured that I'm gonna have to go that way, but, and I suspect probably the big lakes would, like, wanna do the same thing probably, because.
Well, that whole area, because of the hospital being, the water and sewer is gonna be
Yeah.
opened up, now would be a good time to take a look at that area
Yeah.
and decide
Right.
what it is you need.
Like they were saying, we can hook it, we'd have to go to that manhole.
So
Any other
maybe,
questions on?
our engineering firm might be the ones to consult, but I think administration will look into that.
Okay.
All right, so we're gonna deal with that, and that answered my question, as long as environment is now keeping an eye on you.
Oh, yeah.
Then I'm okay with that.
You see, all I've gotta do is go to the town of Prairie and take some pictures there, and then I can show you some other things there.
Please
But
go
I won't do
ahead.
that. I won't do that.
Very well done.
Always good to know that, we're looked after.
We're watching you too.
How's
Okay,
your taxes?
I appealed 2 years ago.
No, down.
Oh, gee, I don't know, I think we're in the MD, it's very low. So, do we have any other public delegations? Mr. Corley, you're,
Well,
would you like to?
mine will be really quick, 'cause
Could you please state your full name?
I'm Joe Corley.
Yes?
Well, I hope this gets resolved really quick, cause I've got a cruise just about to start, so, but I have no building yet, so I'm a year away yet, so that's why I'm here, just to listen to see what happens here, cause if my assessment is what they're gonna pay, well, I'm not gonna be in business very long, so you won't have any taxes to come out of me. So I wanna know what's gonna happen, so I'm here just to more or less spectate, but, I hope it gets resolved soon. My building's quite a bit bigger.
Okay.
So,
How many men are you employing now, families or?
about 33 to 35.
Okay. So, and home hardware, how many?
We're approaching 50, and still growing.
We've had up to 54 at times.
But I've kind of did a little research too, because some of the other
That's
businesses,
what Mike said.
for their size of shop, they were around the 30,000. So I was kind of guessing mine to be around the 50,000 mark too. So hopefully that's where it's gonna be.
Okay, you might want to, have we got blueprints on yours?
No, it's coming this next week. You'll have the drawings on it
So they'll be able to
for the
estimate?
for the permit for
It's an
next week.
assessment is an independent process.
Yeah.
The town is not involved in assessment, but we can get in touch with warrant powers. We want to be far away from it as possible. This is legislated, so that you can talk to Warren, so that you and him can have a feel of what to talk. And it's very complicated. There are several replacement values, income methods.
Yeah.
That we don't have the expertise to even try to advise you. But I certainly will give you the phone number for Warren Powers, so the two of you can talk, so you can use that as part of your business forecast.
Sounds like he's gonna be my new best friend.
He's a very good man. He's a good person.
Have a big stick, Joe.
Yeah, you bet,
Try-
so-
try
And
to
Joe, I have
Yeah,
things
basically-
to do with assessment.
Absolutely, I'll take one of
Maybe
these
you want to pick
copies.
up one and then you can be ahead of
Yeah,
the game.
absolutely, or I'll come back later, so, but,
All right, thank you.
yeah, you bet.
Just one question, Joe, what's
Oh,
your,
yes.
Sorry.
what do you think your construction cost will be?
You really wanna know? My building's 6.5, and I put 1.5 into the lot already. So, it'll be around the 8 million, my building. Like that.
Have you found this cost going up in the last year since you were looking at it? or-
Well, everything goes up. After taxes, right? So, but,
You don't want taxes to go down.
well, exactly, but, I've had a budget for a year or so, so I've had, there's been some, but it's been basically
Not
the
too
same.
bad.
Yeah. So hopefully they don't go up too much, or I'll be here again.
Any other
Any
questions?
other questions?
I'd like to thank you for the skateboard park donations.
Oh, no worries.
Pop's Home Hardware, I'm sure that they've been tapping you up many times, and I bet you that they've also gone to your place too.
All the time $3.
But it looks like we have a winner. I have driven by there many times this week, and they're getting down to the end. There's got to be 40 to 50 kids there every week, and I think there was 75 approximately kids up there, so it looks like a facility that's gonna be well used.
Well, that's a good example because it goes full circle. If we don't make money, we don't put money back in the community for stuff like that. So if you bite the hand that feeds your community, well then you have problems. So that's a good point to make, cause Pops donate lots of stuff, Perry's, John Deere,
Yeah.
there's always people tapping on our door for donations and no problem. But it's gotta come.
It's gotta come back.
You can't bite the hand that feeds you. So
Thank you.
hopefully we'll see.
Thank you for coming. All right, do we have any other public delegations? Yes, Mr. Berger, would you like to step forward? Quite a few public delegations. I'm talking tonight. Yes, sir.
Jeff Berger, Smitty's. I'll pass this out. I got a couple of things I want to talk about. I'll just pass these. You don't have to read these. You can just take them home and take a look at them. Notice the date on this is April 26th of 2013. Local business answered the RFP for cameras, request for proposal.
So this
That
is
was
your-
advertised.
Your request?
Okay.
This is yours? Like
No,
your-
this is the one I came to council about before. Administration never contacted.
This is
The
a different,
business.
this is a business gave this to you?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And I came to council about this before because they were never contacted. And still haven't been contacted. The town manager, the last time that I was here, said that this was unacceptable. Couldn't understand it. Didn't like it. He had some various comments to make about it, but he never contacted the person that wrote this. And I don't really know, this business, was discouraged, and it's nice to say that High Prairie is open for business and ever, but obviously something fell by the wayside. There, you do have an RFP, again, it's closed today. To me, the request for proposals is kind of a way to skirt around the idea of actually doing a official tender call. But you do have that one. This one here has some information about it. You may have noticed in the ad that was in the newspaper, 14 wireless microphones. I have no idea why that was specified in the RFP. I have no idea why one $40 ceiling mount speaker was specified in the RFP. I don't really understand what the heck is going on there, but, and there's no cameras at all. It's just a sound system. So hopefully, you know, that somebody, one of you councillors, will take a look at this, this proposal, this one here, and compare it to anything that you got. I don't know if anybody answered it. I know that this business was so discouraged that they didn't bother putting in anything at all. Okay, that's my first thing. As Mr. Prairie commented, it's not your assessment is the problem, it's your spending. You lower the assessment, you're gonna have to make it up somehow. You're spending too much money. That's why your taxes are high. Your costs are too high. You lower the assessment, either you're going to have to make that up by a higher mill rate, or you're gonna have to gouge the residences and not the businesses anymore if you change that rate. So every time an opportunity comes here, as for example, you know, implementing a hiring freeze, you have passed that by. You've just gone ahead and kept on spending. Your treasurer and your town manager both tell you that 2016, the crunch is coming. And at this moment in time, I don't see any willingness at all, you know, from the meetings that I'm coming to, any willingness at all to really look at what you're going to be doing about cutting your spending. And that's the only way that you're going to reduce taxes. Lowering the assessment is not going to magically make money appear for these people or anybody else. It isn't going to happen. They have a issue with the cost of building, whether or not to proceed. I asked, going on now 3 years, for 2 acres of service lot, of serviced, 2 acres of property, service property in the West End Industrial Park. And the last time I came to council about this was, I was told by the town manager, well, he told all of you that my offer, my request, you know, for a price was not acceptable. It just, I really don't know how you can open negotiation. I would like to see if it's not acceptable, can we have a nice package written all out about what you expect, you know, the folder that you're gonna expect it in and the ribbon that's gonna be tied on it and everything there. I don't really know what to say about that, but I'm not pursuing those 2 acres. You don't have 2 acres anymore of service property. The only person that does is Dennis over here, and he wants to sell the whole chunk. But you guys don't have service property over there anymore. The taxes, you know, have really discouraged me, and the attitude of the town. You know, we're open for business, but we're open to business maybe for just a few certain select people. Last night was a very interesting meeting. The subdivision appeal board. I'd like to compliment the chair, Quentin, who, unprepared, with no background material, virtually nothing, no training, no experience, anything, and they managed to wade through the technicalities of listening to an appeal. And it's a good thing that Mike Poulter was there to keep everybody on the straight and narrow. I don't know if he did it correctly, but it looked pretty good anyway at the end, you know, for 2 hours or something, but totally unprepared. And I was also, just my compliments, you know, to Quentin for managing to get through this. I was also amused by the fact that Quentin nominated Debbie Rose, who was at the meeting, to be the chair, and she declined, which, for somebody that's supporting rotating the mayor's chair and using the story that we need the experience and then to decline that, I don't understand why you just didn't jump at the chance to chair there, but I just found that amusing. Anyway, that's my whole pitch. within my 5 minutes or whatever. Any questions?
Questions? Councillor Long?
Is this what was handed in as a proposal?
It's an RFP, a request for proposal. And if you notice the last line, like, if it's not acceptable, then say so. Just don't throw it in the trash. The last line, we're available to talk about this project. If you wish to proceed or require more information, thank you for this opportunity. If it's not acceptable, contact the person and ask them.
So all of that information was provided?
What
The
information?
contact person, the company
Yes,
name?
oh yes, yes.
All of that?
This name has been taken off of this because really, when these things come before council or are distributed, you should not have the names of the businesses involved in those. You're just dealing with the facts.
Fair enough. Thank you.
And, 2013, only I was on council at that time. This never came to council.
No, but the town manager was here.
So, all right.
Okay?
Any other questions? Any comments? None? 2 acres of land, still interested? No.
Not really.
All right. Okay, thank you, we appreciate your time.
Okay, thank you.
And last call for public delegations. No more public delegations? All right then. I'm going to go through the minutes, approval, and then we're gonna take a break. I think we've had quite a bit to think about and talk. So, let's, the minutes of the regular meeting of council, July 23rd. Councillor Long?
The council approved the minutes for the regular meeting, council July 23rd, 2014 as presented.
Councillor Panasic?
There was one on page 8, it just, for 508-14, moved by that council direct administration, so it didn't say who it was moved by. I don't know, it's not that critical, but I don't even remember who made that motion.
It was me that
It was you,
motioned that,
okay.
and I highlighted that same one.
Oh.
Any other changes, additions, corrections? All in favor? So the motion is as amended. And the special meeting of council for the intermunicipal cost sharing August 6th, 2014. Councillor Empter?
I'd like to make a motion that council approve the minutes as presented.
Any changes, any additions, any errors? Councillor Danaka?
My question is, it says meeting adjourned at 9:50, I had 8:50 when I adjourned.
I have it in my phone. August the 6th?
Correct.
Yes, I had 8:50.
8:50.
Yes.
I'd like to clarify my motion as amended.
As amended? Any other changes, additions? All in favor? Okay. And for those in the audience that are wondering, what will we do with the information that you have presented? We will be taking it back. I'm not sure at what point we can discuss this, but something will come of what you have given us.
How soon?
That, Mr.
Monday.
Tobacco, can you give
Monday?
us?
Monday?
Can you give us something as to?
I'm not sure what they want.
Well, they want a,
You guys' decision jeopardizes our business. If you two guys don't build, we sell that stuff. For once we sell something in town, and you may screw it up.
so I think we need to have a meeting to discuss how are we going to help these people.
Like this jeopardizes our business majorly.
Well, yes, because this is where
This
he's
is where it
getting his
starts for
building
us.
products
We
from.
might be at the 4.5% next year.
Mhm.
Quote the gentleman earlier, don't bite the hand that feeds you.
I think as we need to give them some indication as to how we are going to approach this. Are we having a meeting?
The only ones that are building in town besides us, school division, hospital. What's their taxes?
School division, do they pay? Hospital, do they pay? Mr. Tackle? So, does anybody have any question or comments, or what do you?
We need to meet. We need to get together, sit down and discuss this, and then contact Warren Powers, maybe have him come in.
Like Dennis has 10 days to make up his mind.
And we have a deadline, we have a tight deadline for
Alright,
But I think with Dennis and Joey, I think a good step is to find out what the assessment would be for them, because it might not be too bad once it's also.
It would be matter.
Yeah.
Can we meet Warren? Can Warren come see us? Can we have a meeting with Warren? A group?
we could try a meeting, with Warren and these builders.
Like, you wonder why there's no new development in High Prairie. Look at it.
Well, this is the first that we've heard our taxes are way out of line for commercial properties. So I don't know if this has been what's held us back until now. And maybe I'm wrong, I just haven't heard of issues of the commercial businesses, taxes being way out of line. So I'm not sure if that's what's holding everybody back right now. Like, I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong, I just haven't heard of it since being on council. So, I know we need to deal with this to make sure that we are competitive, though, for sure. And I think a meeting with, the tax assessor to understand that better and to find out why it is different in those other towns, I think is something that we have to look at for sure. Find out how we can make this more comparable to other towns.
Like, you got $70,000 more than you had 2 years ago. You know, where's it going?
Okay, next week, can we get a meeting together next week with the assessor?
name the date.
Alright, let's get the assessor, contact the assessor, find out when he can meet, then we will get in touch with you, and it will be next week,
Perfect.
alright?
Like, this is writing us lots.
Pardon?
This is, you know, a big part of our business coming out of these two guys. They
Yeah.
may not know it.
Well, community development
Are
in
you
general.
competitive?
Yeah.
Right.
You've made us well aware of it, thank you very much. I appreciate you coming and telling us this, because if nobody says anything,
This is what council meetings should be about, not stray cats. We
stray
came-
cats are,
We came to 3 meetings. We never came back. Enough stray cats. Get some dogs.
Mayor, you'll need a motion on that for the manager to proceed on that.
we will get into that, thank you, appreciate that. So, okay, we're going to adjourn now, we'll be in touch with you,
Thank you.
okay?
Break for a meeting.
No, I didn't break, I didn't adjourn.